Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to your Tuesday edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Michael on. Look at that view to start the show. A nice sunset with the clouds starting to retreat from the Tallahassee region, and skies are going to clear as we go into the overnight hours, leading to some very chilly conditions. You can see the cold front that moved through our region earlier today. Much cooler out there. It felt very raw like outside. And the rain is going to depart, and we're going to get a really cold night upcoming and a really cold day for tomorrow. The clouds associated with this cold front, again, it's starting to move off towards the east. The end of that cloud line is back off towards Panama City and the northern edge of Liberty County. And again, skies are going to clear. It's going to be a really cold night with temperatures in the middle 30s here in Tallahassee. Some spots north and west of Tallahassee could get below freezing tonight, and we have a freeze watch and warning in effect. So temperatures are going to be really cold tonight, and we are looking at some rain for the end of the week. But FSU weather starts right now.
Good evening. I am student meteorologist Jonathan Marcus.
And I'm student meteorologist Lindsay Parmet. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Our big story right now is that cold that we've been feeling.
Yeah, the walk to class today was very brisk. You definitely needed more than a light jacket on the way to class today.
Absolutely.
Temperatures have just been plummeting since when we woke up this morning. And that's a result of this giant cold front that we have that has moved across the entire country. It has created many areas for snow, including some that we will take a look at later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an exciting time across the United States.
Definitely. And even this morning, it was relatively warm outside. My friends wore shorts walking to class. However, we reached that high temperature at around 11 a.m.
11,
All right, yeah, in that time frame. So it has cooled down from that cold front that passed there earlier today. However, what we are going to look at right now is some snow that has fallen.
Yeah, so this is actually a picture from one of our FSU weather alumni from Johnson City, Tennessee, and that is some gorgeous mountain scenery where we have the snowfall draped over those northern Tennessee hills. You'll notice the roads are pretty clear though, and that's been kind of the story across because we have had these warm temperatures across the southeast. So while some areas did see snow, the roads are pretty clear, which is very good.
Right, it's reassuring. You can go to work and still enjoy that beautiful scenery. However, 30% of the continental U.S. has snow cover currently. But to talk more about the southeast rather than snow, we are going to pass it off to Hayden.
Yes, absolutely. It is downright freezing. Oh, sorry about that graphics there, folks. Well, anyways, the bottom line, it is very cold out there. Thanks, Michael, for hitting that height there. So in Tallahassee, it's around 45 to 50 degrees. And if you're looking out by Montgomery and Jackson, New Orleans, we have all highs around 35 to 40 degrees. And so it is very cold in the southeast. And then up by Tennessee, it is even colder with highs around the 20s in the region for us. And so let's take a look at those winds. You can really see those gusty northwest winds, even all the way down to Florida. That front is just now starting to come through in Tampa, 13 miles per hour. Locally in Tallahassee, 14. Out by Atlanta, 24. And then out by the coast, a little bit stronger, of course, at 18 miles per hour. And so overall, it is very, very breezy out in the southeast region. And this is all due to that cold front that just came through the region. So you can see this cold front draped across the eastern board, seeping down to Florida, and that is really bringing that cooler air. And then this high pressure is what's really responsible. These double areas of high pressure, I think it's around like 1,030 or maybe 1,040 high pressure. And so this is really funneling in that cool air. And that's why we're experiencing lows in the 30s and 20s for the northern and southeast regions. So taking a closer look, you kind of see those showers out by Florida. It is that draped the front. And then if you travel the southeast towards the Carolina coast, once again, a little bit heavier rain, even some mixed precip out by Raleigh, but nothing too much overall. And then down here, you can continue to see those clearing skies of that high pressure settling in the area. It is going to feel downright cold for November, let alone even January. And so that just kind of tells you something. Also, not to mention, too, there has been some mixed precip down by Texas. So that's just indicative of how cold our atmosphere really is. And so with that cold air, we get those warnings. New Orleans, you get the hard freeze watch, hard freeze warning. And so you definitely want to keep those plants in. Temperatures going to be under 32 by a couple degrees. And then out by a little bit out towards the Gulf Coast, it's slightly a little bit warmer, but it's still a freeze warning. So the temperatures will be around 30 to 32 degrees. And then that includes the county just west of Tallahassee. So if you're in Tallahassee, essentially you are in a freeze warning. So that is just something to keep in mind, the region. And then this kind of extends up once again towards Georgia and now by the Carolinas if you are in the southeast region. So let's take a look at those next 48 hours. You kind of see that cold front become stationary, and this high pressure just continues to seep down to the area. New Orleans, Jackson, Montgomery, all beautiful sunshine. It's going to be scintillating, but it is going to be cold. Like I said, highs will be in the 50s out by Florida, and then up towards Tupelo, Little Rock, you'll have highs in the upper 40s. There was some snow out in the area that will most likely melt, but that is just going to continue to increase those cool temperatures. And then once again, if you're heading out towards the Carolinas, it will be sunnier. And so these clouds will continue to linger around their area. And so for tonight's forecast, 35 Montgomery, 25 Montgomery, 21 Jackson, very cold in the region. And then tomorrow's forecast, high 58s, upper 40s, and lower 80s towards Florida. Now we're going to take it off to Jonathan for the local forecast.
So we're going to go ahead and start out with a look over Doak Campbell Stadium, where you will notice we have this thick sheet of stratus cloud. So it's just a flat cloud. There's not much precipitation associated with it. And what that's going to do is where you have that little bit of sun peeking out behind it, you see this robust color palette of a sunset. So what it's going to do is it's not going to create much precipitation, but it is going to create a beautiful sunset. And a result, I mentioned that we had this cold front that created that lingering clouds, and that cold front swept across the entire country earlier this week, produced some snow, but behind it the big story is this high pressure system, and that is going to create more cooler and drier conditions throughout the Tallahassee region as we continue to go on later in the week. So notice we have these thinning clouds out left behind this front, a little bit of lingering shower activity from the front around I-75 and in Jacksonville, but Tallahassee westward in Florida we are clear at the moment, and that means our temperatures have started to plummet after that cold front. 48 in Tallahassee. Notice as you're further north in Georgia, it's 44 in Bainbridge, 45 in Thomasville. This is a little bit of a chilly condition that we haven't experienced this year. And what you can really tell on these dew points is where that cold front has moved through. You have this gradient from the bold green colors to the cooler brown colors, and that is indicative of the amount of moisture we have left in the air. So notice in Perry, where you are closer to 50, you still have a little bit of moisture, whereas up in Bainbridge and in Tallahassee, sort of in the middle, we have a transitional period. And that means we have this drier air, which means we're going to have a decrease of cloud cover throughout the area. There's not going to be much rain chances, but that also means that there are no clouds to trap in the heat. So 35 degrees tonight. It is going to be chilly. Make sure you are bundled up if you are outside. Make sure you bring your plants and your pets inside. Tomorrow, it's going to be another chilly day. And 58 as a high, that may not sound too bad for some of you that are from up north, but if you are someone who likes to dress in shorts and a t-shirt every day like so many of our students here do, that is not necessarily going to be the most appropriate clothing for tomorrow. 58 will feel very chilly in those conditions. Looking ahead at the weekend, though, we're going to warm up a little bit. 69 degrees for our game versus Alabama State. That is our last home game. We need to make sure we pack Doak Campbell Stadium and wear garnet for that game. So make sure you go ahead and reserve your student tickets, head on out, and enjoy the beautiful weather for that game. And then going ahead and looking at our 7-day forecast, I already covered how it's going to warm up a little bit towards the weekend into Tuesday and Monday and Tuesday of next week. And we do have a little bit of a rain chance approaching later on in the week. But for now, we're going to go ahead and pass things off to Sloan, who's going to give an explanation of how this cold air mass has sunk into our area.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. A lot of you who've been watching the news this past week have seen that Arctic air mass making headlines, moving through to parts of the southeast. I know that places such as Jonathan's hometown have broke their record low temperatures this morning from this cold air moving through. So here's our news segment for FSU weather called Met 101. So we have air masses throughout much of the atmosphere, which are pretty much regions of constant temperature and humidity. So up towards the North Pole, we have the continental Arctic air mass. That's the coldest air that we will receive here in the United States. And then you get fronts, which separates air masses. So when air masses are about to merge, you'll have a front forming. So this will be an Arctic front as it's going to meet this continental polar air mass, which is still chilly, but not as cold as that Arctic air mass. And then we even have maritime polar air masses. So those just have a little bit more moisture, and then they generally form over the ocean, while the continental air masses form over land. And then that polar front is separating us from these maritime tropical and continental tropical air masses, which is typical for the south. Here in Florida, we have those higher dew points, higher temperatures, we're warmer, and that's when that maritime tropical air mass comes into play. And that continental tropical air mass is generally a little drier and over the southwest United States. So think about it for the climate of each region. It's fairly cold up here, even in the summer time, and then towards the south, we still have that moisture in the air, which we saw with that front moving through. And here's that front we saw begin to move through the region for the southeast, bringing us these chillier temperatures and moving through much of the country as that Arctic air mass dipped down throughout much of the United States, causing us to be chilly, causing us to be cold. As Jonathan said, it's been chilly here in the Big Bend, and we're going to expect chilly conditions tomorrow too, thanks to this air mass. But this is just a little introduction into Met 101 about what air masses do for us and how they affect our weather. And Jonathan's going to take a look at the national.
Yeah, so go ahead and looking out over our temperatures, the big story right now is going to be the cool air. Notice the only areas where we are not in the cool purples or blues are going to be out here over California and over in Miami and South Florida, where California we're sitting at a balmy 67. Brisk weather across the majority of the country. Miami, you're still at an 80. I am jealous. Going ahead and looking at the dew points, though, this is really indicative of where that cold front has moved through. Miami, you're sitting at 66. You are the only spot in the country right now over 60. Notice we have a negative dew point in Chicago right now, meaning it is very, very, very dry air, and that is going to help reduce the amount of cloud cover and the amount of precipitation we're receiving across the entire country at the moment. And you'll really see that on the satellite and radar. Notice we have these 3 high pressure systems located over the center U.S. where those dew points are very low. And most of our precipitation is kept in these regions where we have these low pressures or those frontal systems. And we'll get a closer look at that later on. Another way to look at this is with the upper level water vapor indices, where the blues and the more robust colors indicate there is water vapor in the atmosphere, whereas you have this brown and black dry air. But as I said earlier, we see the precipitation in the regions with the cold front. If you look up in the northeast, Boston, you have snow clearing out. Maine, you have some snow clearing out. The front is currently situated right off the edge of the coast, which is why you have showers over the ocean. There is a little bit of lake effect snow going on over the Great Lakes and in cities like Buffalo, just to the west of Toronto and in Cleveland, and that is a result of this cold air we have blowing over the slightly warmer water. Moving further down to the southeast, you can still clearly see where that front is, where we have that little bit of mixed precipitation down by the Delmarva Peninsula, and it's stretching as rain as it gets a little bit warmer as we get closer to Jacksonville and Tallahassee. And this front stretches all the way down across the Gulf of Mexico into South Texas, where in Brownsville they actually had, and Brownsville is almost near the Mexico border, they actually almost had some mixed precipitation today. So that's just giving you an idea of how strong of a system we have with this cold air. And then going ahead and taking a look at our next developing system, we have these low pressures and another front situated over Montana, Idaho, and North Dakota right now, where you'll notice in the mountain areas we do have some snow, and the lower elevations there's a little bit of rain. And that is going to eventually move across the country, which you will see here. It's a developing system. The snow is sort of going to expand into cities such as Minneapolis and Chicago, maybe Kansas City a little bit, but the rest of the country is going to be dry as we sit under these high pressure systems. For tonight's forecast, the big story is the cold. We have freeze watches across the majority of the country. I know the county to the west of Tallahassee is under a freeze watch. We are not here in Tallahassee, but the big story is make sure any outdoor pipes are covered, make sure your pets are inside. If you have plants that you take care of, make sure those are inside as well. Moving on to tomorrow's forecast, a lot of the cold conditions will still remain, but we are going to warm up a slight bit more. In regions such as Tallahassee, we'll get into the 58. It won't be as cold as it was yesterday, but still cold, and that is the story. And now we're going to pass things off to Lindsay for a look at the local Tallahassee region.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. So we're going to see that today our high was at 68 earlier on in the day, and our low currently is sitting at 50 degrees, which is chilly if you're walking to class and you're not used to this weather. You have that jacket going. It's colder than you've experienced. So currently we can see this cold front that has passed over Tallahassee, and we have this rain behind it, which is that moisture that we were experiencing earlier today. However, now the moisture has passed through, and this high pressure system that's sitting up here will push through and will have us experiencing drier, sunnier conditions throughout this week. Currently in Tallahassee, there's nothing much on the radar for us, a little bit of cloud coverage. However, there's no rain that we will be experiencing today. Currently, it is 48 degrees in Tallahassee, and if you look into the Big Bend, it's 50 in Apalachicola as well as 52 in Perry, so they are as well experiencing these cooler conditions. Our dew point right now in Tallahassee is 37, and you can see this cold front that passed through where there is drier air up here from that high pressure system, and as you work your way down, you will see that there is more moisture, which is why it's a little bit more moist in Perry as opposed to Bainbridge, which is currently at a dew point of 33. Our current wind speed is 18 miles per hour in Tallahassee and Quincy, and they're all coming from the north, so that's why we are experiencing these cooler temperatures. It is from that cold front that passed through today. For tonight's forecast, we will see Tallahassee at a cold temperature of 35 degrees. Now, if you're planning on going out tonight and walking that dog, be sure to bring a jacket and make sure to bring that dog inside afterwards. It is going to be cooler than we have experienced throughout the entirety of this semester. For tomorrow, our high temperature is 58 degrees. Again, bring that jacket. It is going to feel cooler than we have experienced. For our day tomorrow, if you have an 8 a.m., be sure to bring that jacket. 39 degrees and sunny, but it's still going to be cold regardless of that sun. Tomorrow, as we head into noon, we are going to warm up to 50 degrees. Still, bring that jacket. It's going to be cool. And our high tomorrow at 4 p.m. will be 58 degrees. For our 7-day, Wednesday, tomorrow, we are going to experience clear skies, maybe some slight cloud coverage at 58 degrees with a low of 35. Bring that jacket, be prepared. Thursday, there is a chance of rain. However, it will sit at 57 for our high, 41 for our low. Friday, rain is likely at 58 degrees. And we can see that our lows are going to relatively stay within the high 30s to low 40s. However, I'm going to pass it off to Hayden, who is going to give us a look at Tennessee.
Yes, absolutely. It is beautiful in Tennessee. It is very pretty, but it is also cold as a result of that cold front that came by that everyone's talking about. And so this is kind of that setup. We had that front draped off to the southeast. You had this cool high pressure settling down in Tennessee, and this front was responsible for those beautiful scenes that we saw in the show earlier, with all that snow in the northeast mountains. So here, probably picking up some clutter. But over by the Smokies, this is worth noting, there's some orographic lifting, and there are some snow showers out by the Kentucky and the Northern Hills, as well in the Great Smoky National Park. And so once again, it's a beautiful time to go out to Great Smoky National Park, oh sorry, it's National Park twice. Go visit those bears before they really hibernate, and it will be pleasant. Just make sure you bring a coat because it's quite chilly. Clarksville, a frigid 20 degrees. Nashville, pretty cold, 24 degrees. Chattanooga, a little bit warmer, 27. And so we kind of get the trend. It is very cold. Same thing with the west of the state with Memphis, Jackson. It is freezing in Tennessee. And the reason, like dew points, this allows it to get cool. A Nashville 7, that is so dry. You need to bring that chapstick. And that is really what's going to allow these temperatures to plummet. Without that dew point, we are really going to get those cold temperatures into the area. And that high pressure is what's dragging in the Arctic air. It's those strong winds. Memphis 14, Chattanooga 16. So we have some very cold winds bringing to the area. So for tonight's forecast for Tennessee, 17 clear skies and chilly temperatures. This is for Nashville. So if you're going out to Vanderbilt University, going to the library, make sure you bring a jacket. It is going to be very frigid there. And so for a 3-day forecast, it's going to be 45 degrees, low is 17. Thursday, 51, very cold. And then it's going to be a little bit warmer, or a little bit about the same 49 Friday, low of 28. So overall, it is going to be very chilly in Tennessee. Make sure you send those graphics of that snow. Us in Florida, we definitely like to see it. And just keep an eye out. And now we're going to bring it out to Michael for a look around Florida.
Yeah, let's we've been talking about the cold for the entire show. Let's put some warm thoughts in our in our show for tonight. And well, let's first look at Panama City. You can see the edge of the clouds starting to move through the panhandle, and that's what that really is doing is going to clear out the skies. And it's going to be a very chilly night out towards Panama City as we go into the overnight hours. Temperatures are going to dip below the freezing mark out there. Again, all of it is due to this cold front currently situated along the I-4 corridor. A little bit of rain behind the cold front, but very dry air behind this cold front and some much colder air with temperatures going to really drop towards the freezing mark out toward the panhandle. Not as cold, though, if you're down toward the peninsula, luckily. So again, the cold front is moving through. The clouds are starting to break behind Tallahassee and off towards the west. A little bit of rain out towards Jacksonville and Gainesville and just north of Tampa. You can really see the front very warm ahead of the front with 78 degrees in Orlando, 72 in Tampa, 80 down towards Miami. Behind it in the panhandle, much cooler with temperatures in the 40s, 42 in Pensacola and 48 here in Tallahassee. You can also notice the front based on these dew points, a little bit more muggy and humid ahead of that front with 62 in Gainesville, 69 in Tampa, but some much drier Canadian air already building in the panhandle with 30 in Pensacola and 37 in Tallahassee. The clouds and the rain are going to move down towards the peninsula as we go into the overnight hours, and tomorrow a much clearer but colder day across the panhandle is in store. Meanwhile, down towards central and south Florida, with that easterly wind, you're going to get a lot of cloud cover and some rain, and a much cooler day compared to the last few weeks, honestly, in central and south Florida. So for tonight, it's a very chilly night across the panhandle with some freeze warnings in effect, especially if you're north and west of Tallahassee, with 35 in Tallahassee and 30 in Pensacola. But of course, if you're ahead of that cold front, much warmer with 59 in Orlando, 55 in Tampa, with some upper 60s and near 70 degrees down towards South Florida, 68 in West Palm Beach and 70 in Miami. Here's a look at tomorrow for the Tampa region with 71 in Lakeland, 71 in Bartow. A nice, warm, mild day out there. As we take a look in the panhandle, though, temperatures are looking to be much cooler with temperatures in the 50s, 57 in Destin, 55 in Crestview. And we are expecting, this is some of the coolest air we've seen in a few months for this part of Florida, ever since March, honestly. But we're going to take a look into a chilly Tallahassee with Salome.
Thank you so much, Michael. Currently, the sun has officially set, but those clouds are still clearing out. But look at that, graphic issues, but it's a little gusty outside at 22 miles per hour. Winds are coming from the north, as Lindsay already said, which really guided that cold front into the Big Bend, causing us to cool off and be chilly at 48. As this morning, we were much warmer, 68 degrees when I was about walking to class this morning. And then it started to rain thanks to that front moving through. Then following those showers, we cooled off. But for tomorrow, that umbrella, you really won't need it. Take a look at this high pressure system that's sitting in much of the southeast, which is going to make its way towards Florida, causing us to dry out, have clear, sunny skies tomorrow. Unfortunately, though, those clear skies aren't going to last. But for now, we see those clouds going to move through the region, and that lingering edge of the clouds, as Michael has been pointing out. The shower chances for right now are pretty much slim to none. Don't expect them to linger throughout the evening hours, so you won't need an umbrella, but you'll need that jacket, that sweatshirt. If you're like one of our friends here in the studio, Dylan, probably a fleece since he's from South Florida. So tonight might not be a great night for you to wear shorts outside. It's definitely sweatshirt weather, maybe even parka weather for some of you sensitive to the cold. 48 again in Tallahassee. Look, clear skies up there at Bainbridge at 43. 50 at Apalachicola, then 52 in Perry. So still in the 50s towards the shoreline, and then 48 in Valdosta. Dew points, you can really see where the cold front has moved through. Look at Bainbridge, 33 degrees is our dew point. Fairly dry, but then Perry at 47 still. So the cold front's still moving through. Some rain was lingering in the southern portion of the Big Bend, but those rain chances are going to disappear within the evening hours. And those winds coming from the north, very breezy outside. 19 in Monticello, 17 in St. Mark's, 19 down there at Apalachicola, but we still have those wind gusts as we saw, it's 22 miles per hour. So maybe not the best hair night for some of you, maybe ponytail. I know Lorenz is going to put his hair in a ponytail when he leaves the studio this evening, and I probably will too. Taking a look at tonight, those clearing skies again, the sun set at 5:41 and 35 degrees as our low. That is chilly. Earlier in the week, they had us at freezing at 32. We've sort of heat up a bit with our forecast low at 35. So sweatshirt, jacket, blanket, whatever you need to stay warm. Tomorrow, still a little chilly at 58. Remember, we are waking up at about 39 if you even 8 a.m. tomorrow. But those clear skies and cool temps is going to make it feel like fall in the Big Bend. So this will be a beautiful day to walk to class as we have those rain chances picking back up. For those of you going to the basketball game this Friday night, it is our home opener. 55 degrees, some cloud cover within the evening hours. It starts at 7. And if we take a look, we can see Harrison Prieto, one of our talent on the show. He'll be there on the basketball team. And then it's our last home game, as Jonathan has said. We need to pack the stadium. It's my last home game as an undergrad, 69 degrees. The rain's going to start to clear out around noon, so we have sunny chances. Maybe bring that poncho. And taking a look at your next 7 days, sunny tomorrow for those rain chances to pick right back up, but then Sunday's looking nice again, and even Monday and Tuesday. Unfortunately, Friday and Saturday, some rain chances in your weekend weather forecast, but it's really nothing to complain about with temperatures like these. I would rather it be sunny or I guess rainy and chilly than hot and rainy. You know what I'm saying, Michael? The humidity's not really worth it.
I honestly prefer rain when it's warm. A chilly rain is awful to walk in. But it's going to be cold for the next day to 2 days. Some of the coldest air we've seen in quite a while, since March and February.
I know, it's going to be very chilly outside. Whatever you need to do to keep yourself warm, maybe even gloves if your fingers get cold. You know, they have the gloves now with like the touchscreen stuff, so you can wear them walking to class. I mean, 39 degrees at 8 a.m. tomorrow. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's been a long time, especially with how warm the fall has been so far. This is definitely a shock to the system. More typical of like January for Wednesday. 58 degrees is a high. Pretty cool.
But those rain chances, an umbrella is probably a must for Thursday afternoon and Friday as well. Maybe even just your rain jacket. If you have a nice lined one, it might be better, as our temperatures are still staying in the 50s during those days and our lows in the 40s, which is still pretty chilly, especially if it's raining and if it's as gusty as it was today.
Yeah, especially Thursday and Friday. It's gonna feel like kind of how it was today. With that, it's a system moving along the Gulf Coast, and yeah, it's going to be one of those very gross kind of days, especially on Friday. But look at the weekend. It brings in a warmer air mass, and look at that. Back into the 60s.
It'll be
feels better.
manageable for the football game this Saturday. That rain is likely in the morning, but hopefully clearing up and being in the 60s throughout the Big Bend Saturday. But be sure to follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather. We post a lot of stuff on there.
Yep, don't forget to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/FSU Weather.
And if you're watching us live on YouTube right now, thank you so much. You can see all of our old shows there too at FSU Weather.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on the Instagram at FSU Weather. We might, if you do post any pictures the next few days, it might be some frost or some...
especially tomorrow morning.
Yeah, especially tomorrow morning.
But with everybody here at FSU Weather, I'm student meteorologist Sloan Haynes.
I'm student meteorologist Michael Onnen. Have a great chilly night.